This is the last thing I have to talk about, unless Seth wants to bring up anything else. But we've been watching Moon Knight. I actually have seen every episode of Moon Knight except for the last episode. I have not, for some reason, taken the time to sit down and watch that. But I have learned that Gorr, the God Slayer, or the God Butcher, which is played by Christian Bale. It's his first time returning back into a comic book role since Batman, and he said that he would never return back to comic book roles, but here he is doing his thing because money talks. And I'm sure they offered him a really cool character, which we still haven't quite seen, except for on like some toys or like promotional mugs or cups or something like that. But he was supposed to be at least appear or at least be mentioned in Moon Knight.
Yeah, there was going to be a reference to him.
Yeah, and we were all kind of expecting it, I think. At least me. Like I personally was. I was waiting to see what the connection between Moon Knight and honestly Thor was going to be. Because just the way they did the marketing with Thor, and the marketing with Moon Knight, it all just seemed like they were working together. Like, oh, well, we'll release this teaser trailer only after the 5th episode of Moon Knight is released, because that's the one that's going to connect everything. But no, nothing ever connects in the Disney Plus series so far, except the closest one is Wanda. But this is what was brought up in reference to Gorr the God Butcher, cut from Moon Knight. And this is from Jeremy Slater, and he says to the direct, he goes, I think Marvel is getting very smart about how they sort of work these references and cameos. And they'll do it if it makes sense. They won't do it if they hurt the story. So they don't do it just for the sake of doing it. I think that was a time where they felt like, we're stretching to make this connection. We don't really need it. So therefore, Gorr the God Butcher was cut from Moon Knight. I would have loved to see a reference, and it's just one of my biggest exhausting things when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and now the Disney Plus series. And it's something Ramon has touched on about when he's been on the show. It's all getting convoluted, and we don't really know what's going on with Marvel. We have we don't know what we're moving towards when it comes to Marvel. So everything just seems really up in the air with a big question mark surrounding it. And I would really like to see more connection between Disney Plus and the cinematic universe. Like right now, I went and saw, Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, and I went mad because I couldn't find any connection between that and Loki, and very paper thin connection with WandaVision. Like, these things aren't really connecting the way that I was hoping that they were. It almost seems like the Disney Plus stuff just doesn't even freaking matter. Now I'm starting to question what Loki has to do with the multiverse. I thought Loki opened up the multiverse, but then, but now people are like, his was more about timeline. It's about, stopping other timelines from being created, not necessarily different universes. So now it's getting really confusing. Maybe Seth, do you know something to clarify this situation for me, or somebody else who's as confused about it as I am?
I mean, Kevin Feige has said that Loki killing Kang, or the Kang variant being killed, is what allowed the multiverse to open. Okay. A lot of people theorize that, like, the killing of Kang, or He Who Remains, I guess is his name. The killing of He Who Remains and the Doctor Strange spell in No Way Home. Some people theorize that happened at the same time, which, biggest coincidence ever, but it's a Marvel movie, so who cares? So some people think that those happened at the exact same time, and that is what just really broke everything. And I mean, I think it's going to take a while before we really see, the how much of an impact these shows are having. Like, specifically, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that show is literally setting up Captain America, the new Captain America. And we're getting a lot more shows. Moon Knight, they've already said Moon Knight is going to appear in other movies. They haven't said what movies, but Moon Knight is going to appear in movies, as is Ironheart, She-Hulk. Like, all these characters are not only going to live in their shows, they're going to show up in other shows, and they're going to show up in other movies. So it will tie in. I think the biggest one, though, we have yet to see it. I think the biggest one, though, that's really going to tie into everything is going to be Secret Invasion. That one sounds pretty big, because that's like a big event in the comic books.
Okay, but yeah, big event, sweet. So like, what? We just get lazy writing from a 6-episode TV series, and so just so we know that character exists, and then they can show up wherever. I don't like the fact that we have to go, well, Kevin Feige said that because of this and Loki is why this happened in No Way Home. Like, we should know that. We shouldn't be told that. We shouldn't have, to read cliff notes written by Kevin Feige, to know what's going on in the movies and compared to the TV shows. Marvel came out first and they said, well, our TV shows, Disney Plus, you don't need to watch Disney Plus to know what's happening in the cinematic universe.
Never said that. I'm telling you, they never said it. I've never been able to find anything of them saying it.
Okay, well, you're the only person that's ever told me that they didn't say that. But if you can prove me wrong, then prove me wrong. I will happily put my foot in my mouth and move on with my life. But
I mean, how am I supposed to prove to you that they didn't say something? Shouldn't you be proving to me that they did?
Okay, then I will do that right now.
I'm kidding. Nope, you don't have to.
I don't even know what to search for.
I don't know.
I went to type something. I'm like, I don't even know what to put in. Okay, sure. Whoever's fucking got to prove to whoever. The point is, I've listened to many people say that, and I've never heard anybody argue it except for you. So like, I just maybe everyone's wrong. But the point is even if they're not doing that, still, like, watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, even coming from WandaVision, it just didn't. The character Wanda that we got at the end of WandaVision was not the character that we got at the beginning of that movie. There's a whole section that happened there that, man, I really wish they would have dove into that in WandaVision. Like, maybe not do that stupid ass TV sitcom thing for 3 episodes and then actually put your interesting stuff in the last 3 episodes. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't. It's all convoluted. It doesn't make any sense. It's not tying in together. We thought in WandaVision when she brought back her brother, and it ended up being dude from the X-Men movies that played Quicksilver. Dude, that was it. Like, oh my God, she just opened the multiverse. Nope. Like, what's the point? What's the point of all this? What's the point of doing something like that and it not tying in? Nothing is tied in from the Disney Plus series to the cinematic universe yet, and I'm getting really, really annoyed with it. Are you not? Do you think everything's just going smooth as butter?
I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I don't really see it as that big of a problem yet. I mean, I get it though. I see it because a lot of people agree with you. More people agree with you than agree with me on that. So I'm in the minority here, but I don't know. I don't see that big of a problem yet. I think no, I don't know.
Well, I think the biggest problem is when we were going through the original phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like, we were there from its conception, and like, we knew we were building up to something. There was a story being built up in the background that we are all aware of. That little Thanos nod here at the end of this one, dimensions of the stones in this one, dimension of the stones in that. These are all built together. But like right now, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, Loki, WandaVision, none of this stuff connects.
I think this is a new phase 1. Like, because we're starting a brand new chapter. Because phase 1, 2, and 3 is one story, and that story ends at the end of phase 3. So phase 4 is starting a brand new one. So this is like going back to page 1. With phase 1, none of that stuff like Thanos and the Infinity Stones were teased until the final movie of that phase, which
Right.
was the Avengers. That's where we got our first look at Thanos and the blue Infinity Stone was the cube. I can't remember the name of it right now. Is that the Space Stone? But the Tesseract, yeah. That stuff was in the final movie of that phase. So think of this phase as phase 1. We're probably going to get our real setup at the end of this phase, which supposedly ends in 2024 is when the end of phase 4 is. That's probably when we'll really start seeing when things happen. And I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, well, they're not, connected because, you had Nick Fury showing up in Iron Man, then you had Iron Man showing up in Hulk, and they're like, we're not getting that, but we are, because we had Wong in Shang-Chi. I know you didn't watch that, but Wong was in Shang-Chi. And then, of course, he's in Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was in Spider-Man. Yelena was in Hawkeye. Like, they're crossing over still. I think I get it, but I think sooner than later we will see where this is heading.
Yeah, so you think, well, and also we did go through an entire global pandemic since then. Things got really confusing for a while, in 2020 and 2021, how things were released. I mean, even when it comes back down to this Gorr the God Butcher stuff, they didn't know. They didn't know if if this was going to come out before or after Thor. So like they had like different alternate cuts that they were going to put out, but they ended up just cutting Gorr out of it completely anyhow. You do bring up a really good point about this being the new phase 1, but they should just say that. They should just say this is phase 1B.
I don't think they have to. I mean, this is a brand new story. I think that's kind of understandable. I think we all know it's a brand new story. It's a brand new start.
Well, that's the thing though. Yes, we all know it's brand new from Endgame. But I think my problem is like there's no real jumping off point. I mean, the first movie after Endgame was Spider-Man Far From Home, right?
Yeah. Which
added nothing to anything about the jumping off point. Like it didn't really jump off into a direction where we're like, okay, I see where we're headed. And that
was also still phase 3 was Far From Home. So that was still like the end of that story. That was
okay. What a weird movie. what a weird spot for a movie. It wasn't it the last movie of phase 3, end game plus the Spider-Man movie. Like that's
they were weird with it. Far From Home was phase 4 at one point, and then randomly like 2 months before it came out they were like, actually it's phase 3 now. It's like the epilogue.
So what was the first phase 4 movie?
First phase 4 movie was Black Widow, but the first phase 4 project was WandaVision.
The first phase 4 movie was a prequel. And you're wondering why we're confused. Okay. All right. That's it. I'm not going to go down to it's Seth. I see what you're saying, and I'm glad you're hopeful because you do bring up some good points. You absolutely do. I just don't know if I necessarily buy them yet. Like you're saying that there's a goal. We're getting there. We'll just another movie or another 2 movies, or at the end of this phase, we'll know. To me, we should already be on the trajectory of knowing where we're headed. I don't want to wait for that one movie that's going to connect everything together and be like, oh, now I get it. I kind of want to be in the know with all the movies and TV shows that I'm investing my time in now. And I'm not. I still have no clue where any of this shit lies.
I mean, I'll say this. This is going to definitely be a big connection is Ant-Man is going to tie back to Loki because the villain of that movie is Kang.
Right.
Actually Kang. So I feel like that'll tie in for sure.
That movie's being very suspiciously quiet. The filming of that movie.
It is. Yeah, I think they've been wrapped for a little while now, but we don't really know anything about it. So
except Bill Murray's in it.
Yeah, except Bill Murray's in it.
Right.
And I have a small theory on that movie, but I don't know if I can say it here yet because I think it might be Doctor Strange spoilers.
Oh, okay. But do you want to do it with a spoiler warning?
I mean, if we put up a big spoiler warning, give it like 20 seconds. All right.
All right.
I'll wait 10 seconds. Doing spoilers. 10,
Uh,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have a feeling that in Ant-Man 3, we're going to get the actual introduction to the MCU version of Reed Richards. Because there's a lot of speculation and heavy rumors that John Krasinski was part of reshoots for Doctor Strange, which were back in December, which Ant-Man was still filming then. And, you know, just take a quick walk across the street. You know, they're going into Quantumania is what the movie's called. And I don't know if you know this, but back in the 2000s, Peyton Reed, who's the director of Ant-Man, was actually going to do a Fantastic Four movie that he was very passionate about, and they ended up scrapping it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, hey, you know, we're not going to let you do the Fantastic Four movie, but if you want to maybe play with a character or two from that roster, maybe we could let you. You know, it's all the sciencey stuff too. Reed Richards is known as the smartest man alive. So, I don't know. It's just a quick theory that I think Reed Richards might show up in Ant-Man.
Do you think they're going to go that low-hanging fruit of bringing in the Fantastic Four like they've been stuck in the quantum realm since the 60s?
I hate that's a possibility. I could very well see them doing that. The thing is, though, my guess is I don't think we're going to see all of the Fantastic Four. I think we're only going to see Reed Richards, if anybody. So I don't know. That's just literally just my theory. I have no actual evidence to back that up. It's just theorizing, just having fun.
Well, there you go. Theorizing with a little bit of Doctor Strange spoilers. Well, there you go, guys. There's Seth's little theory on how the Fantastic Four will be introduced into the MCU. And I think that will do it.